My name is Claire. I'm 21, and I worked part-time at the public library in my small town for almost 3 years. It was usually quiet, uneventful, peaceful even. But then, there was one man. He started coming in regularly, and what unsettled me most was that he never once borrowed a book. He looked maybe mid-40s, wiry build, always wearing the same faded gray jacket. He'd walk in, nod politely, and then sit down in one of the armchairs across from the circulation desk. At first, I thought maybe he just liked the atmosphere. Lots of people come in just to read or relax. But after weeks of this, I realized something. He never touched a book, never flipped through a magazine. He just sat there, staring straight ahead. Sometimes, when I was shelving books nearby, I could feel his eyes following me as I moved, never smiling, never blinking much, just watching. One night, during closing, I was shutting down the computers when I realized he was still there, sitting perfectly still in the dim light. I cleared my throat and said softly, "Sir, we're closing now." He turned his head toward me, slowly, and in this flat, emotionless voice, he said, "I like it better when it's quiet. You should stay after sometimes." I forced a laugh, told him I couldn't, and practically shoved him out the door. The next day, I checked the visitor logs. He had signed in with a fake name, every single time. He never came back after that night. But even now, the way he said those words, "You should stay after," still gives me chills. I was 17 then when this happened. I used to visit the library after school to study. I always sat in the quiet corner, near the back windows. One afternoon, a woman I had never seen before sat down across from me. She looked mid-30s, long black hair, and she had no books, no bag, nothing at all. After a few minutes, she leaned forward and whispered, "You shouldn't trust the man who picks you up after school." I froze. My dad picked me up every single day. I didn't answer. I just stared at her. She smiled faintly and said, "He doesn't like when you sit by the windows." My chest tightened. I panicked, gathered my thing, and turned to leave. But as I did, she said my full name, out loud. I had never told her. I had never even spoken to her. I ran to the librarian, but by the time anyone checked, the woman was gone. No trace. I don't know how she knew those things, and I don't think I ever will. My name is David, and I used to do janitorial work at a city library. We closed at 9 p.m., but I usually stayed until 11, cleaning. One night, around 10:30, I was vacuuming upstairs when I thought I heard someone coughing. I turned off the vacuum and listened. Sure enough, faint footsteps echoed from the children's section. My stomach dropped. No one was supposed to be there. I walked slowly, gripping the vacuum pipe like a weapon. At the end of the aisle, under the dim reading lamp, was a man. He was sitting in one of the tiny plastic chairs meant for kids, hunched forward, hands clasped, just staring at the floor. "Sir, we're closed," I said. He didn't move. I repeated myself louder. This time, he lifted his head. His face was pale, almost gray, his eyes bloodshot, like he hadn't slept in days. And then he said, very calmly, "I like it when the children read to me." My skin crawled. I backed away and called security. But by the time they arrived, the man was gone. No sign of him on the cameras, no sign of the doors opening. It was like he had never been there at all. I quit 2 weeks later, And to this day, I don't go into libraries after dark. When I was in college, I worked the late shift at the campus library. If you've ever been in one, you know the basement level can feel really eerie at night. Endless rows of shelves, the low hum of fluorescent lights, the smell of old paper hanging heavy in the air. One evening, around 11:30, I was shelving books in the basement stacks when I heard footsteps right behind me. I turned quickly, but the aisle was empty. I told myself it was nothing and kept working. But a few minutes later, I heard it again. Slow, heavy footsteps, matching my pace. I whipped around, and this time, at the far end of the aisle, there was a man, tall, wearing a dark hoodie, standing completely still. And when our eyes met, he didn't move. "Can I help you find something?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. No answer. He just tilted his head, like he was studying me. Then, without a single word, he stepped backward, out of sight. I rushed to the end of the aisle, but it was empty. I checked the next row. Nothing. It was like he had vanished. Security did a full sweep, but they never found him. For weeks afterward, I refused to go down there alone. And even now, years later, the sound of fluorescent lights makes my stomach tighten.